True democracy is what Nigerians need. However, that doesn't seem to be what they're asking for. Do Nigerians even know what true democracy should mean, taking cognizance of the kind of environment that we do have, our political party structure, the kind of society that we have built, the kind of sentiments that we allow to come to play whenever we talk about political issues. On this episode of Political Arena, we're speaking to Otumba Shegun, the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Ogun State and the presidential spokesperson or the spokesperson for the Atiku Okowa presidential campaign of the People's Democratic Party. We hope that by the time we're done with the conversation, we would have a rounded view of what people should expect from our politics come 2023, and of course, what the People's Democratic Party has in store for Nigerians. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right, it's a pleasure to be here this evening because there are certain issues I'd like to just pick up with you. I want to begin with our democracy. What exactly is wrong with it? Are we practicing the right kind, or do we need to tweak it a little bit?
You know, I think it's a good question you've asked. There is really nothing wrong with the concept of democracy. And on paper, according to the Constitution, according to the INEC guideline, according to the Electoral Act, all of those laws, there is nothing wrong with it. There is nothing wrong with the registration process of parties. There is nothing wrong with how the whole play is meant to be.
So what
the only problem we seem to have is our human element, our general attitude. No one can make us behave appropriately if we do not get to that point where we will know that we cannot misbehave, we cannot bend the rules, we cannot refuse to obey the law, we cannot act decently, we cannot behave properly except us. So whatever is wrong with our democracy, it's not with the democracy, it's with us. And more than most countries in the world, we have had calls to be producing far more interference with our electoral act almost on a 4-yearly basis. Every time we have an election, we come up from that election, instead of thinking of how to learn and improve the process that we used the last time, we bring a completely new one. So it's almost as if every election cycle is another experiment. Because it doesn't matter what you write in the law, the gaps are going to show in implementation. Some of this gap only require strict compliance to the rules, punishment to those who break the law, and steadying in on it so that we learn from the last episode. Okay. But we're such a people that we throw law and new regulation and legalese to things that require a high level of orientation and attitudinal change. So that's what is wrong with our democracy.
So basically, our problem is not the concept or the system of government. Our problem
is us.
Is us. And that's why I'm amazed most times when Nigerians come up with the concept and saying our leaders are the problem. Because if our problem is us, both the led and the leaders are a part of the system. They form the us you're talking about. Am I correct?
I suppose that the question that makes all Nigeria easily accept or easily profess that their leaders are the problem is because they have not truly situated the meaning and the opportunity that democracy brings. For if they know their role in democracy, they would have understood that they are the leaders that they are blaming. See, for instance, when parties are formed, parties are free joining association. Everybody that is eligible ought to join one party or the other. They won't join. When candidates are being encouraged to come and participate, they won't present themselves for election.
But then you people make it so expensive.
When they are asked to come and vote, you have a voter register for the country of upward of 80 million, and you are installing leaders with just about 15 or so million. So you can see across board that it's as if the vast majority of the citizens expect some other people to take care of the civic responsibility for them, only for them to complain that they're not getting served. Look, if it is expensive, Nigerians who are members of the political party are responsible for making it expensive. If it is, seemingly not throwing up quality candidates, they can only pick from the people that present themselves. If it appears that something untoward is happening there, when you go to the base of the pyramid where everything generates its energy, you are asked to join parties in your ward. Your ward ideally is a location near your family home or where they know you and where you have some influence to peddle. You never go. You leave it to all of the peoples in the town who may not be interested. If you have the people and you leave it to just those ones, it means that they're the ones that will pick the candidate. Now, what? No. That is not a system problem. That is people not understanding that there is nothing fancy in saying, I don't belong to a political party. You can look at them and be persuaded by some of them and just be members. You're members of social clubs, you're members of social media clubs, you're a member of all sorts of organizations. A political party is a far more serious one where decisions that will affect those of your life and your children are taken while you're not showing interest.
Then it comes to the idea that Nigerians would rather belong to a religious organization than belong to a political party. So when issues happen, they pray about it.
Well, I think that religion and prayers and spirituality is at the very essence and core of man. We didn't become religious because we could be by ourselves without religion. If you check it out, you will find out that it was a great need of man to explain things that were beyond his cognizance that created the need for this, love of spirituality and all that. So it's part of us. We don't have to choose one over the other. We can be religious and still eat. We can be religious and still socialize. We can be religious and still be participants and members of political parties. Because at the end of the day, all you get is agony, complain. What have you done about it? Those of us who are in the process, we are there. Some of us even feel very lonely because the type of quality men and women we also expect to come in at the lower rung of the ladder are not in. So we are now struggling against rational thinking because of the manipulation that is easy for the quality and sort of people that are at the base of the pyramid. But if we just elevated it a bit and more serious-minded people took the pain to join the base of the pyramid as an opportunity to participate in the development of the environment, to have a voice in how people are selected, some of them to offer themselves to be selected as well, but to say this is the type of person that will lead or represent us from the base. You're going to be amazed at the quality of democracy we have, because people cannot give more than what they have. No man can give more than what he knows. And if it is as it is, like we've come from 1999 till date, we have seen that even the ones that are participating at the lower run, they're mostly manipulated by the monies that others who have been lucky have been able to amass for themselves from the system, mostly corruptly, and then they're using it to, interfere the impressionable ones. But I'm not sure that if the people at the polling units or at the ward level were made up of hundreds and thousands of people that look like you, I'm not sure that they will be as cheap as to be bought with a few thousands of naira. If you then will be bought, the person who wants to buy you will have an idea that he has a whole lot
to put on the
table.
I like the fact that you talked about how they amass this wealth. Nigerians have to ask the question. Somebody woke up in the morning and spent thousands, speculatively, allegedly, of dollars. Now, going by the fact that money politics is the kind of politics we play here, and I do not want to swing to either political party, it's just the kind of politics we play, irrespective of the political party. Where do politicians get the money from?
Okay.
Is our system that's rewarded? Because then you don't cater now aspiring to be politicians, because if you sincerely do believe that it's easy. You just need to get elected and then you get a job. Or you need to become a delegate. The newest thing is young people want to become delegates. I had a conversation at a youth forum on Tuesday, and they were saying specifically the most attractive jobs now, they are politics and delegates.
Okay. A double-blind research conducted by serious-minded organizations outside the country came with the verdict that there's one thing unique about the Nigerians, you and I. We love our money. And if that's who we are, it means that our love of money will be translated to all the places where we need to peddle influence. Now, if you want to be elected, selected, or voted for, you're really looking for, you want to influence them in your direction. If they love their money, and we all love our money, then money will play a role. If we began to say, we're taking a stand because of other things apart from money, then in a very short time, money will not play that much of a role anymore. Now, where do politicians get their money from? Some of us work very hard because we've never had access to the till. Some of us do business, real estate. Come in.
Do I clarify the kind of politician I'm talking about?
What kind of politician?
Every Nigerian, as much as every human being is a politician. I'm talking about politicians who have served in an elective office, or politicians who have been self-appointed, or people-appointed, or party-appointed as leaders of the political party over the years. And so you see a politician who everybody in the society knows does not have any job whatsoever.
Yes.
You see that politician buying the latest cars, his children drive the latest cars. And the question is, they don't work. They do not work. Capital rule. Everybody knows. The question is, where do they get the money? Is there a tax somewhere?
Well, it's not exactly true. You'll be amazed that some of them are contractors, and maybe because they're in politics, they can be rewarded with some contract and patronage, and they will obviously make some profit from that. Some of them are paid hands, who get a salary. Some of them are people who have had access to the foreign, to the till, and they've been able to take some advantage of that. But you know what I tell you? The bottom line is there is no consequence. If there were a system that surely punished people touching the till and made it difficult for people to just be protecting their own brother who is a thief, then we will have a different paradigm. The way it works in Nigeria now, we're such a funny set of hypocrites. We expect the EFCC fought by the federal government. We expect them to help us chase everybody, including the thief that is beside us. And then when they finally come for our brother, we expect to put straps to the fence and be saying, oh, they are victimizing him because he's our brother. Whereas in the real sense, we're supposed to be the ones who can see that this fellow has stolen our money, and therefore we're saying, you stole our commonwealth, go answer for it. It's all down to what was, discovered by the polling, that Nigerians love their money. And it's not one Nigerian, it's all Nigerians. So we love the good life, we love the champagnes, we love the designer clothes, we love the... Can you imagine that in Nigeria? You go to Banana Island, you want to buy a property there, maybe like a duplex, not over the top, and they tell you the price is in billions. And you look at the infrastructure, the road network and all, and you just ask, what exactly have we done here to make that property have that value? That is crazy. The monies you used to buy the one in that axis, the Koileke axis, if you took the same quantum of money and you converted it into Forex and you wanted to buy a house in some other locations of the world, you'll be amazed at what quality of house, what quality of infrastructure that same money will buy. So you will see that Nigerians as a people, we live in an ostentatious bubble. They need to, just be like we're very rich and just show money, and that's who we are. And then it's made worse because we don't have a social safety net for everybody. So it's possible to literally wake up in the morning in Nigeria and not have any money in your pocket and not have any food unless you beg. When you have that kind of system with a lot of unemployment and all of the dislocation, we all can see how many people can be employed by federal civil servants, how many are employed in realistic, stable private sector. It means that it's just a nation of hustlers. And like with hustlers, everybody's just trying to hustle you for the next dime naira or the next dime they can get. That kind of thing puts pressure even on us politicians. Because you need to ask, those people that we feed, who would have fed them if not us? Those ones that wake up in the morning and say, leader, my mom is sick, my this is that, my dad is that, and we have to squeeze and give them the money. Well, they want
Are you sure you really squeeze?
Oh yeah, we do. Look, listen, you better come and join politics and learn. In one day, when you get your paycheck, you take your paycheck, you cash it, you go running with your family. If a naira drops from my hand, I'm scared to spend it because the avalanche of people who are phoning, needing things, and some of them, they're very pathetic stories. You just want to help. If you don't, you even start running the risk that they say, oh, you are Peter Obi, the stingy man who doesn't spend money. I'm just trying to show you how our system works. You can't blame them for needing the money. Some of them can't help themselves. Their wife is pregnant, is in the hospital, they have a bill to pay. Somebody has to help them. They are hungry, they want to pay their kids' school fees, they need to pay house rent. We don't have a social safety net. So when you see that all of them are not armed robbers, you need to know that we are the ones who are providing that succor for them. And in the process, of course, some people now assume that because of that need, they now need to start amassing and taking probably even what they don't need. But I tell you this,
But the next generation.
I don't know about that. Well, every generation creates his wealth and do whatever they want to do with it. The monies that were created during the Nogu period is not what we're spending. The money that was created during Babangida's is not what we're spending. Nations must understand that wealth is created because of the human capital. And when you create the wealth, what you choose to do with it and how you apply it is what determines whether you are developing in a sustainable manner or you are just living a lie. In the case of Nigeria, we're truly living a lie. And I tell you this, the politician you see is just the next person sitting opposite me wearing a purple blouse and asking the question. And the politician, the nobleman you see, the nobleman you see is just, wait, hold on a minute. The nobleman you see is just this politician in front of you without a cassock. What I'm trying to say in essence is that they're all Nigerians.
So you agree with me, they come from the society. Well, let's come off that topic a little bit. There is this general conception that people just say that political parties in Nigeria are same, especially when it comes to the two parties at the two big wigs. I want to be specific here a little bit. You've been a member of the PDP, that's the People's Democratic Party, for donkey years. Let me just put it like that. Maybe like half of the time I've lived, or more than that. And then, a couple of months, or a couple of, could be read as month. A couple of years ago, all of you moved ship.
To where?
And came together to form a coalition.
What coalition?
So, I'm not asking a question here.
Which coalition exactly?
I'm going to clarify.
Okay.
The vice president, the former vice president, Atiku Abubakar Waziri, is a member of the PDP, a foundational member of the PDP.
Yeah.
When it was convenient in 2014, 2015, a coalition was formed. They all moved to that coalition called the APC. Between the CPC and the ACN, they came up with APC. Where were you at that time?
Let me say to you.
With Waziri or still with PDP?
Let me boastfully say I've been a member of the PDP from the get-go, and I've never wavered, not even for a second. I've been in PDP. I've put in 25 years non-stop on PDP.
I'm quite correct when I said quite more than half.
Yeah, I know. You're sub 50. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so let's come back to the idea that in 2018, or let's say a little bit after 2015, the movers moved back, and everybody seemed to find their place.
Okay.
Back.
PDP.
Was there any ideology, or was it a matter of our common enemy, let's get him out? When you all came together, when they all came together, since you never left, when they all came together to boot out,
okay,
was it a matter of, he's a common enemy, let's get him out?
It's a little bit more complex, and I need to take time to explain it.
Go ahead.
Between 1999 till 2014-15,
yes,
it seemed like an impossible task to create a big enough coalition to have an alternative party. So it wouldn't have mattered what PDP did or didn't do. It kept winning elections all through to 2015. Now, of course, somewhere around 2014, there was a great pushback, especially by politicians of northern extraction, who felt that having had Obasanjo for 8 years, having lost Yaradua, to death, and Jonathan completed his term,
and then
did his own term from 11 to 15, it didn't make sense to them that President Jonathan was going to try to extend it again from 15 to 19 if he had been successful, which would have meant that between 1999 to 2019, they would have stayed in the north, except for the 2.5 years. You can empathize with them.
Okay.
The nation will not have balance. And clearly, since the PDP, for reasons best known to it, printed only one presidential form at that time, what were they supposed to do? I do not agree with that. I don't like people who move. I don't like people who move. But I forgive them because of the value that Nigeria now gets from having another pan-Nigerian party. So I look at what they did as a little bit hurtful for PDP, but not so bad for Nigeria. And I'm not talking in terms of the fact that APC won, no. I expect that the democratic development of the country must be such that we must have 1, 2, or possibly 3 parties that can
be
strong enough to challenge for power. And if that was their contribution to birthing APC, I would forgive them for that misdirection. When they came back, you see, political parties are free joiners, free leavers association. If you carry value and you leave, they will moan, they will be unhappy, they will abuse you, they will this. But if you truly carry value and you keep that value to some extent, and maybe you went to a place where you thought the grass was greener and the grass wasn't so green, and you realize that, oh goodness me, I miss my darling PDP, and you want to come back.
They would accept you.
It's not possible for you to stop them from coming back. The only place to punish them, if at all there is either you don't give them tickets or the electorate punish them. But insofar as the democratic culture cannot eliminate anybody who wants to join, except for extraneous reasons like you are a criminal, you are this, you are that, then you will expect that they can join, and if they join within the rules of what do you call that word now, waiver, within the rule of being, membership being authenticated, within the guideline that if they play all those emotions up and people vote for them, you can't stop them. The dangerous thing about democracy is that bad people can win elections.
Sure.
If good people are not careful. That's the price we pay for saying, even those who don't even know what to look for in a leader, come and select a leader. So it is our duty as citizens to be like ombudsman for the process. Because of all of us, you want a crazy man suddenly wakes up and says he wants to be president, and is able to crazily bully his way into the pillar president, then we're stuck with his crazy ideas, at least until we're able to vote him out. So therefore, we must show more interest in the political parties. Of course, there's a lot for the political parties themselves to do. There's no point in political party hopping and holding their breath for the next election. I don't like that. I prefer that political parties work on their internal models, their processes, their framework, their rules, their, whole gamut in such their organization, so that they can be strong in and out of government. Because it doesn't matter, no political party wins all the time.
I'm glad you mentioned the value of the opposition and the contribution of everybody to making sure there was a viable opposition at the national level. But let's talk about these political parties themselves. You did say the internal workings of the parties is one of the things they need to work on. I'm glad, but unfortunately, our political parties do not even practice the very democracy that we commit into their hands to administer for us for a period of 4 years. Please mention to me, the People's Democratic Party even has democracy there. The Social Democratic Party, the All Progressive Congress doesn't have. But please tell me, which of these political parties practice democracy internally?
To the best of my honest ability, the only democratic party you have in Nigeria is PDP. It's so clear. It's not perfect, I'll tell you why. In PDP, 20 people who can buy the form to want to be president, all of them will be cleared if they make the rules. They will go to the field They will canvass as much as they can. They have to, but they will canvass as much as they can. They will do what politicians do, and they will stand for election. If they want to choose their national organs, people will talk, do horse trading, support me or support my candidate, I support yours, but you will see democracy in action. People will sue the party if they feel something has been done that is not right. They will test it in court. Now, that's how to do democracy. Democracy is not a fancy monastery of monks where they just keep there. No.
So you think the factional groups that
it's all because it's all because democracy gives them the opportunity to use internal organs, not be satisfied, use the courts. Now, if you flip it back to the APC, I believe that the APC would have been a good political party if only they were not in a hurry to start taking on all sorts of strange fellows after they won. Those who were their partners to win, I get. But upon winning, it was as if they threw caution to the wind. They just wanted everybody and anybody and whoever. So before long, the characters that were the thieves in PDP suddenly jumped into APC. And they began to appear like saints. When you have people who have very huge integrity questions, especially when there are cases in court, there are EFCC and all of that, and you hound them when they're in PDP, and then you open your door for them, probably when you're hounding them is to beat them into submission to come and join you, and then they join you, they begin to strout the whole of the street, they begin to mouth your APC slogan as though they didn't contribute to whatever was the reason. I'm not using the word decay. Whatever was the reason by which you challenged and won them. So now you can see APC can't even recognize itself in the mirror anymore, because take the last presidential effort they did. Okay, they were lucky a progressive of their own leaning won. Tinubu, kudos to him for that. Almost everybody that was trying to be something that had one sojourn with PDP or the other, the Akpabios of this world, the Amichis of this world, the Moses of this world, all of those people, they have even become, even the El-Rufais and Coles of this world, they have now become the front banner people of APC. Whereas these were the principal actors of the PDP years.
Let's talk about these thieves that you just identified. You mentioned the fact that the thieves in PDP all moved and their colors were changed. Maybe they went from red to white when they joined the APC. These thieves that you're talking, I won't ask you to mention them. But
no. Listen, it's a figure of speech.
Okay, they are not individuals now.
When I say the thieves, that is borrowing the adjective with which their new landlord qualified them. When they were with us, you call them thieves. When they change their address to you, you call them saints.
And then Nigerians now call them thieves.
No. Everybody calls them, they are now saints. I can't remember the last time anybody talked about any corruption-related issue around people that are in APC now who used to be PDP. Senator Ojus Okalu is a classical example of how the APC it wasn't in PDP, a classical example of how they bring them in the morning and release them at night. You compare that to how they treated the former National Security Advisor, how they treated Olisa Metu, how they treated those who have not jumped to them. What we see is that there is a pampering and a soft landing process that is given to their friends for prey. How does a party that claims that it wants to do change and do something progressive in 2015 resemble what is happening now? They have even lost a recognition of their original identity when they started out. You notice that when they go to their campaign now, they don't boastfully talk about anything of value anymore, save or say they dance, they caricature the issues, and they talk about how people who buy form for 100 million naira will come to a public forum where they're supposed to be talking about issues around presidency. All they're doing is falling on top of themselves like chickens, claiming that they are stepping down for people. If you knew you were going to step down, why did you wait until all the cameras were out? But it is what it is.
Let's not forget.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Your man Tamwa also did the same. Just a little
compare one out of many.
No, I'm just saying.
Compare one out of many.
And those who step down.
Compare one out of many to an orgy of theatrics that they became classified with in their one. Go back to when they were trying to install even their chairman and notice how they were just basically hounding people on the stage in the most rancorous, ugly spectacle of democracy, and they were forcing them one after the other to say, oh, come on. You see, let me tell you, I wish us to have good parties. I do not pray or wish for the disintegration or the collapse of APC, no. And I do not pray for that for PDP either. What I pray for is that let us evolve the parties to the point where we're almost like the American model. The Democrats can win, the Republicans can win, and you really wouldn't say one is better than the other. You only differentiate them by their populist policies. While one is pro-market, the other one is socialism and social services. That's how we must. But it's a work in progress.
We'll get there.
It's a work in progress. We need to hurry up. 25 years is not a short time. A quarter of a century is a very, very long time. We have been at this democracy since 1999. We need to stop giving ourselves the excuse that we'll get there. No. That journey must start like immediately. And I'm not talking about excessive gyration of obediently obedient that is really not obediently obedient or going anywhere soon.
You like to make these innuendos about certain issues. I won't go there with you. Let's talk about your candidacy. I'm just interested because over the years, people know Segun Showunmi as a speaker, a journalist, a broadcaster, and then the communicator for Waziri in the 2018-2019 general elections. You preached the Waziri message everywhere. In 2022, you picked up the ticket yourself.
Okay, you're talking about the governorship.
So,
well, I've always wanted us or myself to be a part of a team of people that throw up great leaders. And I've done that consistently and purposefully. And I've always known that at some point in time, I'm going to ask the question, Segun Showunmi, who exactly are you sending to do the job that you are asking to be done? After the 2019 election, I looked around at my state, Ogun, and I realized that now that the governor there, an Ife woman from Ogun East, the Jebu Remo section, was already in place. I tried to see what he was doing, and I realized that if we're going to challenge him, the best place to challenge him will be with me in Ogun Central, where we can have some numbers, and then look for numbers from our cousins in Ado-Dota, around the Songo corridor, the Awori kind of thing. And I felt that for us to give a good account of ourselves, we needed someone whose views on issues were pretty much known and who had been talking to development within the state that had name recognition. unfortunately, the leaders then came to me and said they wanted me to run. And I kept telling them, okay, let me consult. And the more I consulted, the more I got the nudge. The more I consulted, the more I got the nudge. And then...
Within Ogun State or outside of Ogun State?
Oh, all over.
Because I was wondering if you consulted Waziri as well.
With all over the country as much. In the case of Waziri, I felt that one, he needed to make up his mind whether he's going to run. And okay, he's been in politics since how many years? He started very early. I needed to, I've been here too anyway, but I've only been supporting them. Why don't I go ahead and do what I've done? And that's what has happened. I've campaigned in a different manner. It's been quite stylized. It's been very issue-based. Occasionally, when those, when people attack, I always attack back. Sometimes I tell myself, okay, why don't you let it slide? I think I'm praying and believing that I will continue to develop that thick skin to be able to see the attack.
Like a thick skin?
Yeah, like a thick skin, see the attack and just smile. Because I have the ability
you have the ready answer.
I have the ability to respond. So occasionally, when they start, they get their minions to start, being indecorous and abusing me, I just usually okay, let me just let them know that this game is, I just give them a slap on the wrist. And I'm basically just playing. But words are hurtful. And I've told myself that even when they do it to me, I will try to develop the ability to just smile over it. Because but I'm never the aggressor, never.
But then you're going to be a leader. You're planning, you're contesting to run a state where you will go for meetings and the Obas will practically rain abuses if they feel.
No, they don't do that in our state.
Oh,
we're not a bunch of barbarians.
Okay,
our Obas don't rain abuses.
Okay, so if the Obas don't rain abuses on you and they use the same kind of innuendos that you use, that will obviously pass the message across. You're Yoruba man.
No,
they
listen.
can actually speak to you in a very, very courteous manner, but that will still hit home and pinch you badly.
No.
You would have to...
I can handle, I can listen, I can understand your position, and I can respect where you're coming from. I'm fair-minded like that. What I have not succeeded in doing is when you send your trolls to abuse me.
The minion.
Yeah. And then I'll look at it, I'll smile. But if they don't stop, I'll just okay, let me just take it to their leader straight. And I know how to do that, but I don't do it often. I'm going to try to even not do it. I'll be, let me tell you something. I do not want to say that I am perfect in any way, because perfection belongs to God, but I'm fairer than most.
All right, let's talk about this, your candidacy for the Ogun State governorship seat.
It's
what's happening? I've not finished my question anyway.
Okay.
Just a couple of days ago, we heard that Ladi Adebutu has emerged the candidate for another faction, and that's the apex party, the NWC of your party, the People's Democratic Party, has accepted and endorsed him as their candidate.
No, let me try and explain it to you. It is the nature of those who do injustice to wish that they can sustain their injustice by pretending the injustice does not exist. Let me repeat. It is the nature of those who do injustice to think that they can sustain their injustice by pretending that the injustice does not exist. But it is the right of fair-minded, responsible, courageous men to take them to court, so that if it becomes the desire and the judgment of the court that, okay, they were right, you can say, okay, thank you very much. give them a handshake, and life goes on. But if truly, like I suspect, there is an injustice there, I believe that, especially in the case of Ogun, we have demonstrated over time to the PDP national and to all Nigerians and the people of Ogun State that we have the ability to get redress in court. We used that in 2011, we did it in 2015, we did it in 2019. Who knows?
And you want to do the same in 2022? Who knows?
We're already in courts.
Wow.
There are lots of cases there. I've been under pressure to, ask myself that, Shegun, is there anything you can do to de-escalate all this and just maybe give them a chance? I'm still at the point where I'm thinking about it, and I must tell you, I'm not unpersuadable. I'm persuadable because for me, really, the ultimate intention is that the people will be served well. If I were to have been an APC man, I will have a similar kind of attitude to the party like Tinubu. What do I mean? He's the only one that I can boastfully say has never left. All the others go and come, go today, come tomorrow, do this, do that. So he's never left. Even when the loss was there. So I'm like him. I've never left. It's not been roses.
So you can be persuaded if peradventure they bring the right tools.
Well, the thing about it is that, let me tell you for free, we come from the southwest, the Yoruba-speaking part of Nigeria. It's not rocket science. The more popular platform in our part is the APC and the Progressive. They have 5 states except Ibadan. So it's a popular party there, but it's not the only party there.
Yes.
The last election, presidential election we had, the votes were quite close. They won by about maybe 260,000 votes across the whole of the zone. That's very small compared to locations where they're winning by millions. So what we can see, if you look at the graph, the only part of Nigeria where they're really practicing democracy is the southwest, followed very closely by the north central. Because in those two locations, the balance is there. You can look at the figures and
people are free. Is it because people are really free to belong to whatever?
No, I think that they're fairly more educated, fairly more accommodating, fairly less tribal, fairly less parochial. Religion ordinarily doesn't play too big a role there. So the things that drive them is a function of where they have their evolution. They're not a people who will say, oh, because we are from this zone, only this party from this zone. No, that's not who they are. Elections are hard there because the electorates come out and people vote for their choices to a reasonable extent. If there be anything I want them to improve, it's turnout. Because I've noticed that there is serious apathy in the southwestern part where people just don't come out.
Is it because you think the elites feel they know better and they feel that whatever happens does not affect their business?
With profound respect to civic responsibility, you cannot sidestep your civic responsibility under a flimsy excuse. The elite, even more than anybody else, are the ones who have a duty to show up, because the only promise democracy gives us is one, and that is that you have a right, once you are eligible, to determine who will represent you, either in your state constituency, your federal constituency, your senatorial district, your state, or the presidency. By not voting, you have already reinforced failure, because maybe that vote of yours is that vote that will make the difference. And if the people that are eligible are campaigning and talking to you, you stifle them. You make it harder for the ones that don't have money, where people who don't want to be bought can't be bothered to come out. So you need to come out. You need to look at the candidates. You need to disregard propaganda and lies. Just look at them, listen to what they're saying, hear what they're saying. If you have a question, ask. But above all, you must do your civic duty. Because what's the point in you going out to complain in your beer parlor, in your hairdressing salon, in your schools, in your home, when in the real sense of the word, you didn't participate?
Once again, you've been appointed the spokesperson for the Atiku presidential campaign. What should we be looking forward to? Clean?
You know, when the election, I'm not interested in propaganda and lies. I will always say, let's have a clean contest that we may inspire another generation from the debates. And I will always say, let us try to talk about the issues. Because when we are done with all of the sweet words, highfalutin words and all that, we're still going to be down to the brass tacks of getting the job done. One of the problems of the 2019 Nigerian experience was that we spoke about all the fancy words, we'll do change, we'll make dollar one naira another. We didn't really spend enough time to think about how it's going to be done. And we have gone 7 years, everybody's feeling frustrated. So I don't expect us to go into 2023 the same way. I expect us going to 2023, I expect us to ask the right question. Sir, how are you going to fix the economy? Sir, how are you going to secure our life? Sir, how are you going to make sure that our currency does not go down? Sir, how are you going to make us united? These are the things I want us to talk about. And I don't want us to just leave it to sloganeering. No. We are in a dire strait. We need to fix our country. We need to give ourselves a chance. We need to prepare this country for the future. We need to have a succession plan for people like me to take over and we start to run the country. But we are not able to run into running. We must move in a systematic manner if we're to use democratic vehicle. We need to figure out how to make sure that it's not so expensive. We need to make sure that there's more access for women. You can't have a population that is almost 50-50 and then women will not be having roles. But women will vote for women. We need to make sure that young people can have better access. We need to stop agonizing and start planning for how we want to solve problems. And we need to be asking, sir, what's your solution to this? Or what are your ideas on this?
So issues-based campaign is what you're looking at?
It has always been for me.
And it's still going to be the same?
It will be, in fact, I'm looking forward to the crossing of swords of two giants. And I am saying this, I'm using your medium to say, Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Waziri Atiku Abubakar have come a very long way in democracy. They have their respective scars to show for this democracy. June 12, exile, forming parties, sustaining the whole thing, and for the first time,
both of them are going to be the
no, that's not even the point I'm making. For the first time, none of them is a military officer, so to speak.
Sure.
So we have, for the first time, Democrats, civilians, now running the two major parties. I don't want us to do a campaign.
Are they not friends?
Hold on. I don't want us to do a campaign, and at the end of the campaign, two long-time friends will no longer be able to be friends. I don't want us to do a campaign where there are children who know themselves and probably know one as uncle, the other. I don't want them not to be able to be friends after the campaign. I don't want us to run a campaign where at the end of the day, there's a lot of ill will only as a result of the things we're saying in campaign. So I'm saying officially, I don't expect anybody to speak or shame any one of them because of their age, because we all hope to get old, and may we get old and may we be well. I don't expect us to concoct rubbish on justiciable, on verifiable talk that have no evidence. I don't expect us to just make the whole country toxic. I don't want us to over-religiousize it. And I don't want us to make it too tribal, because there's no part of the country that can win the election by themselves. So I expect that we're going to have a beautiful campaign. I want it to be stylized. I want people to listen to good jingles. I want young people to be energized. I want them to have fun. I want the two gladiators to enjoy their campaign. And I will do everything humanly possible to stick to that. The only thing I will not do is allow people to abuse us non-stop, and then at the end of the day, who will be the one now that will now be saying, oh no, I will not do that. And I know Bola, and I even know Ashaj Bola Tinubu longer than I've known everybody. I've known Ashaju since 1995. And the respect I have for him has not dwindled. I spoke to him not too long ago. I wanted to check whether his mental health, I know he's frail, he's getting old, but I wanted to be sure that his mental health could carry the, and I'm not advertising him, but it's still alright. It's still good. It's still good. He's no.
You needed to go deal and say.
No, I did. I went to, and we saw. And we sat down and we had a very serious, intense conversation. And I asked him, if you were on the other side, you wouldn't even like me. The kind of questions I asked him some very, very tough questions. I took him to 95.
You wanted to test him?
No, I took him, I wasn't testing his memory. I took him to 95 to bring him to 2021, October. And I was basically asking him if this is the democracy that we all signed up to and we all fought for. And I wanted him to truly explain why the whole thing looks this way. And he spoke for 1 hour, 35 minutes.
And you were impressed?
He's my man. I know him. Look, I cannot like think that I'm like his alter ego. You know that guy that you want, that leader you want to beat? Not because you want him to, look, if you don't want anything to happen to him.
Yeah, but you want to beat him.
I want to beat him so that I can just say, okay. I beat you. But look, I'm happy.
But
anyone who wins, I know they'll be better than the present guy. And I know for a fact that even for the interest of the northern Nigeria, I know that Atiku is that man who can take the need for them to adjust certain things to them without it appearing as if they're being victimized.
That we've had this conversation with Otumba Shego Showobi. I'm sure he does the same thing I do, and he can talk much more than Andrew. What a big thank you to you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
We'll see you some other time, hopefully this time, to campaign or maybe to talk some very important issues.
Any day, any day.
And that's our conversation. We've said a lot, and you have truly heard a lot. It's Political Arena. We'll be back next week. Bye-bye.